Knives Out is one of my favorite movies of all time. The writing, direction, cinematography, the twist. I adore almost everything about it. So I was pretty excited when I saw there was a sequel coming to Netflix with an absolutely stacked cast. And it was pretty good. After a quick rewatch of the movie, I feel like there's problems that the movie itself was just bound to have. Problems that flaw essentially any successful Hollywood film since forever, really. The sequel problem.
Eat shit. Eat shit.
Before we look into where Glass Onion falls short, what exactly makes a good sequel? A sequel is supposed to expand on everything from the first one. Characters must develop more, the overarching problem might expand, and the world of the universe must be explored more. Think back to some of the best sequels of all time, where we see these things perfected. Empire Strikes Back, The Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2, Shrek 2, Terminator 2, the MCU, except until recently. The list goes on, but is still somewhat limited. Then doing a quick Google search would really show you just how much schlock Hollywood throws at you. Like, did we really need 5 scary movies? Who the fuck asked for this? Now, part of the problem here is that Hollywood will find whatever is successful and sink its teeth into it and drain it of whatever potential there is until it is a lifeless, almost unrecognizable shell of its former self.
The feeling goes on forever.
The point is, there are many examples of sequels, but only a handful of them seem to even be worth the time. Now, Glass Onion is something I would very much recommend, but I think the movie shows exactly the problem that every sequel has. The movie has to be bigger, more action-packed, bigger twists. Everything must be bigger than it was previously, or else audiences might get bored with a story of equal or lesser stakes. Thinking back to the first Knives Out movie, the movie was more about the dialogue of characters, a family trying to solve not only the murder of the breadwinner of the family, but why all the money is going to his assistant. The fun comes from watching everything unravel until the very end, where an audible "oh" is said as it all makes sense, and everything is tied up in a nice little bow. I think the idea of keeping the Knives Out series alive by having Benoit Blanc just solve mysteries, that's fun. The problem comes with the unnecessary, grander approach to the story. So evil-ass Edward Norton, with his semi-science fiction explosive fuel source, is such a backbone of the story that it creates leaps in technology that we're supposed to suspend our disbelief for in order for the story to make sense. So the reason this is just such an issue is the movie does such a good job of putting the audience back into 2020, with Among Us being so popular even while Benny's playing it, and you know, the whole pandemic thing. The reason this leap is so jarring is because the movie establishes the setting as our current world in summer of 2020, but then tacks on the weird explosive fuel source Edward Norton has made. The first movie's only weird thing is that Ana de Armas pukes every time she lies. Here, there's a private island with a literal glass onion on top of it, so when the movie decides to take this leap in technology, it kind of takes me out of it. The witty dialogue and bombastic characters help bring me back, but I just thought the out-of-nowhere science fiction object was a tad out of left field. This is where the problems start to creep up. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of this. It just comes off as the stakes being raised to raise the stakes for the sake of story. The set piece was to destroy the glass onion in a cathartic manner, so they needed an object to do just that. I understand why it was done, I just didn't really like it. The first movie did such a good job at telling a self-contained, simplistic for a whodunit story. The movie feels small scale and personal, and this one just feels it has to be grand, and it has consequences for the world around it. It feels very Hollywood. There's nothing wrong with being Hollywood, it's just a problem that Hollywood has put on itself. Hollywood has an over-reliance on sequels, so much so that I found a list of over 100 sequels currently in the works right now. So I thought it would be fun if we just went over some of them. Some of these make sense, like the continuation of the MCU, the Dune sequel, garbage minion shit, you know, the expected stuff. Mainly what I'm looking for is a movie that just shouldn't exist and only exemplifies Hollywood's weird obsession of giving people familiar settings even if it makes no sense and in no reason is even warranted. Avatar 2 is a demon hellspawn of a movie if released. The first live-action remake of Aladdin was fine. But if remaking the direct-to-DVD sequels into live-action is what Disney is about to do, I'm going to be impressed on how they'll be worse in every single way. Bright was the shitty Will Smith Netflix movie. Bright 2 will be the second shitty Will Smith Netflix movie. R.I.P.D. 2? What the fuck? Hold on. That can't be real. What? It's out? How is... The first movie bombed? No one bombed? Chicken Run is awesome. Chicken Run 2 coming out 20 years later is stupid. For every Top Gun Maverick, there's an Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Legacy sequels are just bizarre. Netflix's Death Note 2. I'm not gonna lie, I don't understand this one. Like, these movies aren't successful in any way. How are they made? Literal pieces of dog shit are being milked. Okay, hold on. Passion of the Christ 2. Isn't that a South Park bit? Family Guy? It's a bit from some dumb show.
Passion of the Christ 2. Crucify this.
There's this Creed anime that just got announced. Really, really odd stuff. And there's so many examples of sequels like these. The schlock of Hollywood. Hollywood has a terrible problem with sequels. Just regurgitating anything that was and I guess wasn't successful. Sometimes I ask myself, with sequels like for 1993's Demolition Men, if people would even care about such a time difference from release of the original to the release of the sequel. But then I see that Avatar 2 is one of the highest grossing movies ever. So I just forget the argument altogether. I know they're very different circumstances regarding those movies, but it's kind of the same. Glass Onion is a really well-made film. A lot more over the top than the first one, but still really good. It might not be like the incoming schlock we'll be getting, but I truly wonder if these movies will continue to expand on themselves and eventually become parody of themselves. Or if the next Knives Out mystery will just be smaller. I have faith in director and writer Rian Johnson, but it's something to look at. At least, I think it is, but maybe I'm just being dumb. After all, like a Glass Onion itself, it looks and feels so complicated, but once you pull back the layers, you see how simple it really is. Oh, money! That's the reason!